Hey y'all. Welcome again to This is the What I Wish I'd Said podcast. I'm doing this every Monday, pretty much every Monday, just to talk through the notes from yesterday's message, things that I've thought about overnight that I wish I'd said a little clearer, or even like sometimes comments or questions that y'all have. And I have a couple great comments that I got yesterday after the service. Sometimes y'all tell me amazing things, and I think, ooh, I wish I'd have known that before I preached. I would have used it while I was preaching. But before I get to the comments, let me just clarify one really important concept. When we're talking about pain and suffering, and then we start talking about joy and purpose, and like we talked about peace yesterday, like finding the missing piece, right? Like Jesus shows us the purpose in our pain. Sometimes as believers, and I can be guilty of this too. It almost sounds like we're getting giddy about the purpose. Like we're so excited about the purpose in the pain that we almost sound like we like pain. And I just want to set you at ease. You're not supposed to like pain. The Bible actually never says to enjoy pain. Even the verses I read yesterday, the verse that says, count it all joy when you encounter suffering, right? We consider them joyful because they're working and achieving for us a glory that far outweighs what we're going through now. The Bible actually never minimizes the pain. The Bible always maximizes the purpose. I hope that helps you because I thought last night, man, I hope I didn't come across callous or insensitive, to the way that we feel, the hurt that we experience. Validation is a good thing. It's good to be validated. And if you are going through or have been through something, I just want to hear you hear. I want you to hear me clearly say that I validate that, right? I think the beautiful thing about Scripture is that the Bible doesn't hide the bad stuff. Our culture is big about, hey, I feel seen. The Bible helps us know that God sees the hard thing, but it also recognizes that He helps us get through the hard thing. And so just know that God, He's not minimizing your pain, but He is highlighting the purpose in it. He is showing you how, if you'll trust Him, He can start to bring those things together. So that brings me to two comments that were given to me yesterday. One was somebody just came up and said, just as clarification, right? We're talking about the road to Emmaus, that they were walking with Jesus on the road and they were talking about Scripture. They told Him about Scripture, and then He showed them about Scripture. And then we were talking about the table, right? And then when they sat at the table, when they broke the bread, their eyes were open and they saw Jesus. And I love the way that this person put it. He just simply said, the service, like church on Sunday, church services, or that's like walking on the road. That's the presence. It's about the presence. We come to church to worship. We come to church to worship together with one another. We are all about the presence. By the way, wasn't the presence of God so strong yesterday? So Sundays, you can think of Sundays as the presence, right? The walk on the road. But then the table's about relationship. I thought that was such a great point because sometimes we can get so theoretical. We can get so information oriented. I learned something new at church, or I saw how these pieces in my life can go together, but I'm not really sure quite even what to do with it. I just think I learned some more information. Sometimes I listen to books and I'm like, in the moment, that's fantastic. But it's not until later when I'm having a conversation with somebody that I love and I'm talking about the book that I read that I have to really dig in, think about it, make it more personal, and it becomes a lot more alive and real to me. And so I just love that. The Sunday services are like Sunday services are all about the presence, and that's where our hearts can start to burn. But until we sit at that table in relationship with people and talk about the presence, sometimes we're not able to really put words to it. And then here was the second comment that was made. Here we go. They said the thing that stood out to them from chapter 24 was when they were sitting at the table And it says, then their eyes were opened and they recognized him, and he disappeared from their sight. And they asked each other, were not our hearts burning within us while he talked with us on the road and opened the scriptures to us? The next verse says, they got up and returned at once to Jerusalem. They got up and returned at once to Jerusalem. And so this person was telling me like that, the at once part stuck out to them. And here's what they said. They said, as soon as the two men realized that it was Jesus and Jesus disappeared, they immediately left to go back to where they had Jesus. Does that make sense? It says they got up and they went back at once to Jerusalem. Why Jerusalem? Well, Jerusalem's where the other disciples were for sure, but it's also the last place that they really spent time with Jesus before this walk on the road to Emmaus. And then they said this, what God told me was that if I want to experience what I had when I was closest to him, then I have to go back to what I was doing when I was closest to him. Y'all, that is so good. What I wish I'd said was that if you want to have what you had with him, go back to what you were doing, go back to where you were when you had that, right? Get back into his presence, get back around the table and talk about the things that he's doing in your life with people that you are in community with. And I really hope that this, what I wish I'd said, helps you kind of clarify some of yesterday. By the way, if you've ever got questions that you want to ask about a sermon, man, grab me on a Sunday, text me on a Sunday night, whatever. Send me an email. You got all my contact information. And let me know what your question is, and I'd be happy to address it on one of these Monday morning podcasts. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you Wednesday night for prayer.